Okay, so get this. We're really diving deep today. Like seriously deep.
Dive time.
Into the Love Foundation.
Yeah.
Ever heard of them? So they're all about, like, love is this big global force for change, right? And they sent over a whole bunch of writings by the founder.
Oh, cool.
Harold Becker.
Okay.
So we're going to dig into those.
Awesome. And what kind of, like, time frame do these writings cover?
Let me see. Looks like they span, like, 2 decades. So we're talking about, like, some serious evolution of thought here.
Wow, that's a good chunk of time. I'm really interested to see how his thoughts on love, and especially love as a force for change, kind of like evolved over that time period. Especially, with all the different things that have happened in the world in the past 2 decades.
Exactly. Okay, so the first thing that struck me just diving into this stuff is that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like, they're not afraid to get real about the messed up stuff in the world.
Yeah, it's not just like a bunch of empty platitudes.
Exactly. Like, one of the first pieces we're looking at is called Love for Love's Sake. And in it, Becker's talking about how, there's a ton of chaos in the world, but he also says there are all these acts of peace and love happening every single day that we don't even hear about.
Which is probably true, right? Like, when was the last time you saw a news story about somebody just being randomly kind?
Right. It's always the bad stuff that makes headlines.
Totally. So what's he saying we should do about it? Just, like, pay more attention to the good stuff.
Well, he actually takes it a step further. He's like, don't just see it, be it. Like, we should be the love and peace we want to see more of. Contagious positivity,
I like that. It's like that Gandhi quote, be the change.
Yes. And that idea that our individual choices can actually impact the collective consciousness, that's huge.
It's a really powerful idea. And it's one he keeps coming back to. Like in Change Through Love, he really digs into that, suggesting that when we commit to personal transformation, it's not just about us. It creates a ripple effect, contributing to a bigger shift towards love and unity on like a global scale.
Okay, hold up. How does that actually work? Like, what's the mechanism there? Is he talking about energy? Something mystical? Or is it more about, like, inspiring others by example?
It's interesting because he never gets, like, super specific about the hows, but there's this other piece, Healing of America, which he wrote right after 9/11, and it's, man, it's powerful.
Oh, wow, I bet.
He's talking about all that collective grief, all the anger. It was everywhere. And he's saying that forgiveness, choosing love, even when you're in that much pain, that's the only way to heal wounds that deep.
It's like that saying, hurt people hurt people.
Exactly. Like that negativity, it's contagious, but so is love.
Okay, yeah. So if we're spreading love instead of negativity, that's the ripple effect.
That's part of it, for sure. But he connects it to something else, too, in love, wisdom, and power. This idea that we have to recognize our shared humanity.
Like, we're all in this together kind of thing.
Exactly. He argues that when we really get that we're all connected, like deeply interconnected, no us and them, it helps us overcome those artificial divisions we tend to create. Like rich versus poor, educated versus not, all that stuff.
Instead of focusing on our differences, look for the common ground.
Precisely. And it's not just about people either. In Uniting Humanity, he talks about remembering our connection to the earth itself. He sees the earth as this living being, totally worthy of love and respect.
Oh, wow. I love that. It's giving me chills.
Right. And he says that recognizing that connection is like a crucial part of our journey toward unity. Not just as humans, but as inhabitants of this planet, we're all connected.
Okay. That's beautiful and all, but be honest. With all this talk about love being the answer, doesn't it feel a little too simple? Like, what about all the real problems, the systemic issues, the deeply ingrained stuff? How can love fix all of that?
I hear you. It's a fair question. And it's one that Becker tackles head on in Love in the New Millennium. He doesn't deny that there's a ton of negativity in the world, but he argues that we actually give it power through our attention.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like when we focus on the negative, when we feed it with our energy, it grows.
So how do we change that?
By consciously choosing to focus on love instead. He says it's not about ignoring the bad stuff or pretending everything's perfect.
Right.
It's about shifting our energy, our attention, and that can actually shift our experience of reality.
So an active thing, like actively cultivating love instead of just, I don't know, hoping for the best.
Exactly. And that's something he really digs into in Experiencing Love. He's all about seeking out love in every single moment, even when things are tough, even when you're surrounded by fear and doubt.
Easier said than done.
He'd probably say it's a practice. Like, love is always there, even when it's buried under layers of, crap.
Okay, so we have to dig for it.
In a way, yeah. And he talks about forgiveness being a big part of that, forgiving ourselves and others. That's key to accessing that love that's always present.
Forgiveness as a pathway to love. I like that. So it's not about walking around in a blissful daze pretending everything's fine. It's about actively choosing love as a lens to view the world through, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it.
And that choice, that's a big part of what he talks about. It's a deeply personal choice. Every thought we think, every word we speak, every little action we take, it all sends out ripples of energy. And those ripples, they impact the world around us. It's wild, right? Like, we have this power to choose what we're adding to the world, the fear and all that.
Or the love and hope.
Okay, that's a lot of responsibility. It is. But he's saying it's also incredibly freeing, right? Like in Freedom to Love, Becker talks about how when we let go of negativity, that baggage we carry around, like the fears, the doubts, the judgments, letting go of that stuff actually unlocks our inner power to love.
So the less I'm like weighed down by my own junk, the more I can be there for others.
Yeah. It's like true freedom, the kind that lets you fully embrace love. It comes from within. It's not about external circumstances. Anyway, I wanted to circle back because we were talking about all these big, like, almost theoretical ideas, but we haven't even mentioned Global Love Day yet.
Oh, right. Yeah, can you remind everyone what that is?
Yeah, so Becker actually started this thing, this whole initiative. It's pretty simple, really, just dedicating a day to, like, celebrating love and spreading it around.
And it's huge now, right? Like a global thing.
It's massive, which to me says a lot about, what humans actually want deep down, that yearning for connection, Like, we all want to feel united, to feel that sense of belonging.
Especially these days when it feels like everything's about what divides us, you know? Global Love Day, it's a good reminder that, hey, we're not alone in wanting a more loving world.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that shared desire for love and compassion and all that good stuff.
Okay, but it's not just about one day.
Right.
Like, we don't just have to be loving on Global Love Day.
Right. It's about, like, embodying those values every single day, choosing to see the world through that lens, being kind even when it's hard, respecting each other even when we disagree.
So what they're advocating for is like a real shift in perspective, from me to we, from competing to collaborating, from fear to love.
Exactly. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness and, like, taking responsibility for the impact we have on each other and on this planet. Because what we do to the planet, we do to ourselves.
Right. It all comes back around, but we're not aiming for perfection here, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're all going to mess up sometimes.
Of course. It's not about being, like, robots of love.
Yeah.
We're human. We have emotions. We get frustrated. We get angry. All of that is part of the deal. It's about what we do with those emotions.
So it's not about suppressing the negative stuff. It's about choosing love as often as we can, especially when it's hard.
Exactly. And those little acts of kindness, those everyday gestures of love, those matter.
They add up.
He talks about those little things creating a wave of change. Like, it's not about waiting for some big dramatic gesture. It's the everyday stuff that really makes a difference.
So to be clear, he's saying that each of us has a part to play, that even small acts of love can make the world a better place.
Yes. And it all comes down to that one simple but profound choice: choosing love.
Choosing love in our thoughts and action, not just for ourselves.
For everyone.
For the planet.
For all beings.
Not just as a feeling, but
as a way of life.
Not just today.
Every single day.
Wow. Okay, I'm feeling a lot right now.
Me too. It's powerful stuff.
It is. And speaking of powerful, I keep thinking about everything going on in the world right now. All the uncertainty, all the division. Like, it's heavy stuff. And it made me think of Becker's piece, Powerful Times, where he talks about how we're living through this crazy, intense period in history.
It kind of feels that way, doesn't it? Like, every day there's some new thing to be worried about.
Right. But Becker, he doesn't shy away from that.
Yeah.
But he also says that these intense times, they're also full of opportunity, like for growth, for transformation.
He's saying we get to choose how we respond to all of it.
Yeah, like we can get swept up in the fear, or we can choose something else. And that's empowering, isn't it? To remember we have a choice.
It is. It's about stepping into our power, taking responsibility for the energy we bring to the table, and choosing to be a force for good, even when, or maybe especially when it feels hard.
And that all starts with love.
Absolutely. Love unlocks our potential, It ignites that hope within us. It's what keeps us going, even when it feels dark.
It's that guiding light toward a brighter future.
Love's the answer, not just for us as individuals, but for the whole world.
Love can heal the world.
It can bridge the divides.
It can create peace and harmony.
And you want to know the most amazing part?
What's that?
That power, it's already inside each and every one of us.
We just have to choose to use it,
Cultivate it.
to share it with the world.
Yeah.
Let it guide us.
Because when we choose love, we unleash a force that's unstoppable. And
That's the message of the Love Foundation.
a message for right now,
And for all time.
a message that has the power to change the world.
One heart at a time.
Now, before we get to the final part of our deep dive, I want to pause for a sec. I have a question for you, dear listener.
Okay, I'm listening. What's the question?
So we've talked a lot about this idea that love can change the world, right? That our choices, even the small ones, create these ripples that impact everyone. But then there's reality. And reality, well, it doesn't always feel very loving, does it? So how do we square those two things, the big, hopeful ideas and the sometimes harsh realities?
Man, that's the question, isn't it? It's easy to get caught up in all the inspiring stuff, but then, you see the news or someone cuts you off in traffic. And so where's the love in that?
Right. And Becker doesn't shy away from that tension at all. There's this piece, Change, where he talks about how we crave security, but we're also wired for growth.
We want it both ways, huh?
Totally. We want comfort and predictability and change and excitement. It's a lot.
So what's the answer? How do we balance those things?
He talks about cultivating trust. Trust in ourselves, in our gut, in the power of love, even when things feel uncertain.
So not ignoring the bad stuff, but not letting it, take over either.
Yeah. Like, he acknowledges the world's problems, the suffering, all of it. But he's saying we can't let those things extinguish the love and hope we have inside.
It's like we're not separate from the world's problems, but we also don't have to be consumed by them.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, love is even more important when things are tough. It's easy to love when everything's perfect. But when things are hard, when you're faced with negativity and pain, choosing love then, that's a game changer.
It's like you were saying about those ripples. One act of love might not seem like much, but if we all do it, if we all focus on radiating that love outwards, imagine the impact that could have.
Exactly. And it starts with a shift in perspective. From scarcity to abundance, from me to we. We are all connected. Every thought, every word, every action, it all matters.
I have to be honest. When we started this whole deep dive, I wasn't sure what to expect. Love can sound kind of, I don't know, cheesy.
Yeah.
But the way Becker breaks it down, it just makes sense. We're all in this together, and when we support each other, we all rise up.
It's not about overnight miracles, right? It's about trying to be a little better every day, a little kinder, a little more compassionate, and trusting that those little things, those ripples of positive energy, they add up.
A little more love.
Exactly.
It's a pretty good message to end on, don't you think?
I think so. Choose love.
Choose love.